Hello, hello. Um, for those who don't know me, my name is Erika Lynn, they, them pronouns, and I work at Hardin Middle School as an 8th grade math teacher. And I am so excited to be here, in part because, as I mentioned earlier, it's been a crazy few days, and this is something I've been really looking forward to. And I mean it. I really do love working with people on Desmos. Desmos was a tool that really, when I learned about it, revolutionized my teaching practice this past year. And it's something that I want to continue using going forward, albeit in different capacities. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot that Desmos offers that we can integrate into an in-person learning environment. So I'm really excited, and I'm really grateful that each of you is here. So I am actually going to move us onto the agenda real quick. I'm going to skip the warm-up, and that's intentional. Normally, if I was teaching with students, I would not be skipping the warm-up. I'd be doing that first, but we're actually going to look at the warm-up in a different lens today. So let me present my screen. And I'll show you real quick. So if you've never seen what a Desmos looks like before in teacher view, this is a little glimpse of it. We'll get to look more in depth later. But I'm in student view right now. So I'm looking at this presentation exactly as my students would be. And I can make it full screen here. I can do control and up with the wheel on my mouse to make it a bit bigger so you can see it pretty easily. We've got a funny GIF here because it makes students laugh, makes them feel a little bit more engaged, hopefully. So right on time, I'm going to be introducing myself in just a few minutes. We're going to review the learning goal and the norms. And then we're going to start the main part, which is learning about Desmos. And I'm really hoping that should take about 35 minutes. One thing I want to just say real quick about today is that there is more than I can teach about Desmos in 2 hours, let alone 30 minutes. So I'm not going to be teaching every little thing. But what I'm hoping to get across is I'm hoping that you come away with this with an understanding of how to explore Desmos. So you can look at the Desmos tools that are available and use the resources Desmos has to figure out how to build activities for your own, or how to take somebody else's activity and edit it to make it a bit more appropriate for your class or the subject that you're teaching. So around 2:15, we are going to split into teams, and you will start actually building a Desmos activity together. So you'll be in groups. There probably be about 5 of us in each group, 4 or 5. And then at 2:45, we're going to reconvene. And we are going to present our Desmos activities as a group. And then at the very end, we will have the exit survey to complete. Any questions right off the bat about the agenda? Okay. So, like I said earlier, my name is Erika Lynn. That's my full first name. I use they, them pronouns. I work at Hardin. I teach Math 8. This last year was my first year as a teacher. And the year before, I worked with Lisa Russett at La Paz. And she's actually here today. Hello, Lisa. And it's actually Lisa who everyone has to thank for me getting into Desmos. Yes, Lisa, you have something to say?
I didn't mean to put the hand, sorry.
Oh, no worries. I was going to say, if you want to, go for it. But it was Lisa who got me into Desmos, because Lisa was my induction coach. And just like I think every teacher on the planet, around September, I was just banging my head on a table like, what can I do to be a more effective teacher and to engage students better? And Lisa suggested I look into Desmos. And I tried it and I was really nervous. And I just told the students, I tried making this. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be any good. And they were fortunately really kind and helped me when there were a few little mistakes on my first few Desmos activities. But the overwhelming consensus from the students was, we love this and we want to do this more. And by the end of October, every lesson I was doing was in Desmos form. And it really did make a difference. And Teresa's mentioning in the chat, I would disagree. I was not a pro at the beginning, but Teresa was my co-teacher for first period and for sixth period. And it really did make a difference for the students. It allowed them to feel more engaged. And it also made a difference for us. We got a lot more useful material out of it. And at first, like I said, it was a little nervy, but I just told the students, I'm probably going to make some mistakes. Help me figure it out. And within a week, I felt like I had it pretty solid. And I felt like I knew generally what I was doing. And I've continued to learn a lot more. And this is the first of 3 Desmos sessions that I'm doing. So this session assumes no prior experience with Desmos. And then tomorrow we're doing one on basic coding. And that's going to be learning about sentence frames, for example. So you'll see different examples of some stuff that you'll probably want to be able to do, but they do require a little coding. So if you're interested in that, tomorrow's session we'll be talking about coding. And then on Friday's session, or in Friday's session, we'll be talking about self-assessments. And that's where we get into some really hardcore coding. Anyways, back to today's session. Our learning goal is that I can I can explain how to create and present an effective, interactive, and engaging Desmos lesson with my team. So our goal is that you and your team can work together to build at least one Desmos lesson, although it'd be cool if each of you wanted to try making one. And then at the end, you're going to get a chance to actually teach it to us for about 5 minutes as if we were your students. So the norms, as always, mute your mic when you're not speaking. Please refer to people by their chosen name and pronouns. Please ask lots of questions, and please feel free to unmute and ask your question. If you want, you can raise your hand, but it's totally okay to just unmute and interrupt me. I really do love questions. The caveat to that is that we only have 2 hours to do something I could literally spend 10 hours on. So if the question is going to take more than about a minute to answer, then I'll ask that you stay after or that I answer it during the group time so I can talk with your group one-on-one. And then as a team, let's try to work collaboratively and professionally. And finally, and most importantly, let's embrace mistakes because A, like we tell our kids, that's how we learn, but B, especially, and I want to say this again, that's how we learn. I learned by making a ton of mistakes in Desmos, and I still learn that way. Just before I put this presentation live, I realized there was a mistake in it. Okay, and that's okay. So let's make some mistakes today. Let's try some new things out. And, oh, getting ahead of myself. So one thing that's really cool about Desmos activities is you can anonymize the students. And that's really nice because now I can go to the warm-up, and if I go to the teacher mode right here, so right now I'm on the student mode. Okay, right now I'm on the student mode. If I go to teacher mode, I can see everyone's answers, but they're all anonymized. So I'm not actually sharing with students or sharing any students' information. So you can do this with academic problems as well, and that's pretty cool. And I just realized, my apologies, I did actually want to go beyond right here. I wanted to show you, I made a note section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pacing. So right here is the pacing button. So currently I've got it set so you can only go to slide 6. I can either click on this plus to expand it, or I can click on the pacing button and click on the first slide I want and the last slide I want students to have access to. And I'm going to unpause it so you can actually use it now. But this section right here is for notes. So if there's anything that you see that I'm doing that you want to write down, you can either write it with your stylus, or if you click on this T here, you can actually type up, click on the T to type in the sketch pad. And that's on slide 10. So if you want to take some notes, you can go right here. Like I said, I've got anonymize on. One thing that's really cool is you could see which students are on which slides. So for example, occasionally you'll have a student that's a bit of a straggler, so you could see who's still on the first slide. You can make sure everyone's where they need to be. Or you can see the progress of the class. So that's a really nice feature. Really allows you a chance to see where everyone is, kind of like scanning the classroom. So now that you've got your notes page, I want to show you the warm-up. And you can see down here, not only the distribution, which is so funny because when I asked this question to my students, the ability to read minds was like so low. All of them wanted super strength or defensive armor. So few of them cared about reading minds. So I find it interesting. But yeah, so you can see the general distribution. If you click unanonymize, then you would be able to see each person's name. The other thing that's really cool is, if you recall, once you chose, so let's say I wanted to control the weather, it prompts you to answer this question down here. Well, if I go to teacher view, I can see every one of your responses. Okay. So for example, I can see that this person chose super strength because it's the closest to regeneration abilities. I can see this person said the ability to persevere through any situation I've encountered lately. I feel you. And so you can look through, and this is really nice because I'll sometimes give students a problem where they have to show their work and explain something. And just like how we would do in the classroom, where we would want to showcase some student work, you turn anonymize on, and now you can show literally everyone's answer. And so not only you, but the students get to see that there's a wide range of answers at times. And you can show them you can show them specific student work. So you could click right here. Maybe you really want to show off this answer. You could click here and just show, Sofia Kovalevskaya, what that person wrote. And usually I would do it for more thorough answers right here. Ooh, I agree with that. Read the minds of students who are confused. Yeah, that would be fun. Maybe not fun, but that'd be useful. So I wanted to show you how this looks in teacher view, because there's so much that you can do with all this information in real time. Does anyone have any questions? Also, can people hear my neighbors outside being loud? Because I can shut the window if people can hear them screaming outside. Okay, glad no one here can hear the screaming. Good. Any questions about the teacher view, how this looks? Does this turn into a spreadsheet or something to keep? Ooh, that's a great question. Does it turn into a spreadsheet? No, but it stays forever, you know, so I can go back and I'll show you. Here's my unorganized mess of all my Desmos activities. And so let's say for some reason I wanted to look back at this lesson. Okay, maybe I wanted to see, you know, something. I could go into the dashboard here and I'll turn anonymize on and I can see every student's work. Okay, so this was a slide where I asked them to do some problems. So I could look here and see, you know, months later, what are they all doing? So even though it won't turn into a spreadsheet or something like that, the data is still saved for you basically forever. Yes, that's another great question. And you read my mind. One thing that's really cool is the feedback feature. I'll be honest, I found that my middle schoolers didn't use it that much. You have that ability. Which ability? Oh, to read. Oh, yeah. So I'll be honest, my middle schoolers didn't use it too much. I don't know if other middle school teachers were able to get their students to look at the feedback. Mine, once they submitted something, they usually didn't want to go back to it. My partner taught high schoolers and she used the feedback feature extensively. And so what you do, let's say you want to give some feedback here on Ibn al-Haytham. You would just click on it. And right here, you're going to see a little text box and it says lesson feedback. And so you can just type in here, you know, great sentence. Or you could say, next time, try doing this. And right now I can see it's unread. And so whomever Ibn al-Haytham is, if you can go back to slide 4 and look at this feedback, actually, I'm going to stop presenting for 1 minute so I can unanonymize. Teresa. I'm going to pick on you, Teresa, because I know you. So, oh, it was Teresa that I picked on. That's funny. So yeah, Teresa, if you could go back to slide 4. So right now it says unread by the student. And Teresa, if you can read the feedback, so if you're in the Desmos, you should see a little notice pop up. If you can click on that, and you can see the notice went away. So that tells me that Teresa has read it. So Candace asked, how do the students know they have feedback? That's a great question. Feedback is one of the newer features of Desmos. So unfortunately, there is no way currently for you to like email out or message out. However, in the student screen, it'll pop up right around here on the top center, a notification. And so it'll be, you know, this bright red notification for students to click on. And that's how the students know that there's feedback on that slide. And what's really cool is it'll even tell the students this feedback is for slide 4. So, you know, it'll tell them to go back to slide 4. So what my partner did, oh, you're fine, Teresa. What my partner did is for quizzes, she would, at the deadline, pause the activity. And then she would give all the feedback. Then she would unpause it and email all her students and be like, hey, go check your feedback. So Ingrid, so feedback update cannot connect to email, or if they're on the platform, they get, yeah. So far, feedback update is not connected to email. If they are on the platform, then they will see the feedback immediately. But let's say that, I give the students feedback, during my prep period, and then the next day they come back on and look at that same Desmos, they'll still see that feedback. So the feedback will stay. It's not like the feedback floats away, but they won't get a record. So that's one thing that I hope Desmos changes. One thing that if you play around with Desmos long enough, you'll learn, they're really responsive to the community. And so I wouldn't be shocked if they are working right now to try and integrate feedback with email, because Desmos is already integrated or email is already integrated with Desmos. So I don't think it would be too hard. But currently that's not something that they're capable of. Yes. And yes, so they would have to go back to the platform. But the way I view it is it's kind of like if you give students back a quiz or a test with feedback, we still have to tell them, read the feedback, because there are students who won't always read the feedback. So we can just, what I would do, and it was really my partner who did it. She would email all the students once she had submitted all the feedback, and they could go back, they could look at it, and then they could make their edits. So yeah, does that help clarify? And that's something you could do too. So that's a great suggestion, Lisa, because it is connected to Google Classroom. So if you were to go to Google Classroom, you could also give feedback in there on the Desmos presentation. And that would give them the notification. So that's always something you could do. I hadn't thought of that. That's a great idea. Okay. Any other questions about the feedback capabilities? Did anyone have fun playing around with this? The rotation slider right here. In 8th grade, we introduce them to rotations mathematically, and this was something students had a lot of fun with, and it was really a really nice way for them to visually understand the concept of a rotation on a coordinate plane. And you can do the same thing if you go to teacher view. You can look at all the sentences here. And what I would do is I would say, okay, let's take a look at all student work. And I would read through some of them. So I'd say, one thing about the origin that changes is, the shape moves around the origin. That's what Sophia thinks. Let's see, what does everyone else think? Oh, no worries, Adrian. There you go. Thank you for asking. And so in the classroom, what you could do is you could project this onto the screen, have it an anonymized view, and you could show everyone, look at all this great work and thinking that each of you is doing. And you could go through each of these responses, or maybe before you show it, you've selected a few responses you want to go over in depth. But it's a really great way, I find, for students to share their thinking, not only with you, but then you can share all that thinking with everyone else in the classroom. Any questions on how to share student responses? Any questions on how to find them? Any questions in general? Okay. Can you show how to see? Yes. Right here is anonymize. Okay. And so if you just click that on and off, you can either put the students' real names on, or you can put a famous mathematician's name up there. And that's also really fun, because then sometimes the students will ask, who's this person? And you can tell them, Google it, and they'll learn about a cool mathematician. But yeah, right here. So these are the 3 buttons that you're going to be using the most while you are presenting. Anonymize, and that means that you've turned all the names off. Pacing, so right now I've got pasting set because it's not time for the team activity, and I don't want anyone to complete the exit survey when we're still, in the first hour of the presentation. So that's why I've got the pacing set the way I've got it. And I could pause right here if I want everyone to return and focus their attention on me. So yeah. One other thing that's really cool, right here you'll see the code. If you click on it, this is where you can copy the link for students to join. Okay, so I'll show you in just a minute how to actually set up a Desmos activity that you would, use in your class. But here's how you can get the link. One way you can get the link for students to join. Okay. Any other questions? Because if not, then we're going to move on to the building side of things. So any questions on how you would present a Desmos activity? Okay. So as I mentioned, eventually you're going to be working together with a group of folks to make a Desmos lesson. And so I've already got a template here, and I'll give you that in a little bit. But for now, I want to show you how you can just go to make an activity. So if you can go to teacher.desmos.com, and I'll type that into the chat, teacher.desmos.com. There we go. And did everyone get the email I sent out this morning? I meant to send it yesterday, but yesterday was interesting. Hopefully everyone was able to set up a Desmos account. If you don't have a Desmos account set up yet, let me know and I can help. It takes about 30 seconds and it's free. So once you go to Desmos or teacher.desmos.com, if you click on custom activities, and for you, it'll probably show up blank unless you've made an activity before. This is a list of all the activities I've ever made. And, oh, no worries. So if you go to teacher.desmos.com, and right up here where it says Erika, Lynn, Abigail, you're going to click on create an account, and you're just going to sign in with Google the way, our students do for like their textbooks, how nowadays we do it for a lot of things. So you're just going to go to teacher.desmos.com. And then you're going to click where it says create an account. Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's so easy. So if everyone who needed to make an account could just let me know once they've got their account set up. If you have your account set up already, go ahead, look at some of this stuff, play around. You can look at featured collections. You'll get to see a ton of Desmos lessons. And Vanessa, Femi, let me know if you need any help setting up an account.
where is the button to create the account? Which side?
On the top right side. So right here where it says Erika, Lynn, Abigail, right around there should be a button that says create an account.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
Yeah, let me know if it's not showing up.
Okay. I don't see it. It says math tools, resources, and then it says my name. Or I already created one then? I have my
yeah,
name.
if it says your name there, then you've already got it.
Oh, okay. I think that's what I was doing right now then.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. That honestly, it's so easy to create a Desmos account that half the time people make one without even realizing they made one. So once you're logged in, and I think we are all logged in, or at least no one's told me they're not logged in. So once you are logged in, if you go right here to custom activities, and these are all of my custom activities. If you've never made one before, then this should be blank. But if you go to custom activities on the left under your stuff, you can click right here on new activity. And when you click on new activity, it'll allow you to title it. If you want, you could make it private, but generally I would advise against that. Because if you make it private, you can't share it with people in your PLC. And what we did in the Hard and Eighth PLC is one of us would make a Desmos for a day usually. And so we kind of take turns and we'd share. So did you have a question, Vanessa?
No, I am right there. What it says. Well, it said new activity, and then it says learn more.
New act.
Is that where I'm supposed to?
Is this right? When you say that the new activity, is this where you're seeing new activity?
Let me see. Yes, right there where it says custom activities, and then
Yeah, so if you're on custom activities, you're in the right spot. If you click on new activity, it should pop up right here like this.
Let me see. Because I'm going back and forth from one tab to the other.
Oh, okay.
Can you see my screen, or are you able to see it?
Oh, are you sharing your screen?
No, I was just asking if you had that ability to see
no.
our screen.
No, I would have felt a little uncomfortable doing a Go Guardian for everyone here.
Oh, you should have.
I don't know if I even have that ability to. Anyways, so if you want, Vanessa, I can help you afterwards. Is it okay if I move on to show this section?
Yeah,
because
sure.
we've got it. Oh, awesome. And I'll make sure to circle around and help during the teamwork section, but I want to make sure we have enough time for everyone to get started on the teamwork. So you can just title this however you'd like. I'm just going to put literally random title. You always, I would say you always want to leave it available for anyone to look at, because then you can link it and share it with people in your PLC. But if you want, you could make it private, but then it's only you. No one else can see it. If you want, you can put an activity description. This is a random activity. Yeah, you can just put anything in there, but you don't have to. You can leave it blank if you want. And then you can create that new activity. And this is the screen that you will see. So this right here should hopefully look a little familiar to the teacher screen when you're actually presenting. Once you make it private, can you go back and change it? I don't know, honestly. I don't know. Oh, you can. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I never bothered making my private, so, but that's a good question. Thank you, Lisa. So right here, you can see I've got one slide set up already. And the only thing that's pre-put on the slide is a title. So you can put in here title. Or you could put, you know, warm up or whatever it is you'd like to put as the title. And then it says here, choose an item on the left to add to this screen. And right over here, we have a ton of different options. I'm mostly going to be ignoring the full screen ones. These 3 full screen ones take up the whole screen. No other element can go on them. I'm mostly going to be focusing on these 12 and pretty much I would say these 10 right here. I'm not really going to go into geometry or action button. Definitely not action button because that requires coding. So let's say that you want to ask students a question. Okay, so maybe for the warm-up, you want to ask them, you know, whether they prefer Star Wars or Star Trek. What I'm going to do is you're going to click on this note right here. And a note is where you're creating a note for the students to read. So, do you prefer Star Wars or Star Trek? Okay. And I'll go to the preview right here. So if you click on preview, it'll show you how a student would see the Desmos slide that you've built so far. So if I did nothing else, this is all the students would see. Any questions so far? And one thing, I trained my students on this so well that I was a little thrown off. One thing I would do with my students is if you were typing out a question, just put a ... in the chat. That way I know. But if I don't see any ... or if no one unmutes, then I'll move on. Okay. So now I want students to be able to actually answer. So there's a few options. Maybe I want them to write out a sentence. Well, now I'm going to put a text input here. And now they can actually type in here, I like Star Wars because, and you know, they can type out their responses. And you'll notice this share with the class. One thing that you want to be careful of when you get a note is that you have the ability to share students' responses with everyone in the Desmos. Sometimes that's really cool, especially for like a warm-up. That can be really cool. But oftentimes, like if they're trying to answer a math problem, you don't really want that. So then you would just uncheck it. Okay. So if I go back to preview, you'll see it no longer says share with the class here. It now just says submit. And what's really cool is you notice these 2 buttons here. Students have the ability to now insert a picture as part of their answer to a problem. So if I click here, you'll see it won't actually let me because I haven't published, but normally if this were a published activity, students would be able to upload their images here. And not only that, but if they click here on the square root symbol, it'll allow them to type in math and they can access the calculator here. It doesn't pop up because, you know, actually, I'm not sure. I've never understood why it doesn't show up in the preview, but it does for this. Oh, that's probably, oh, you know what? I just figured it out. See, still learning stuff about Desmos. When you're in the preview, it gets a little messy. But for the students, this has always shown up fine. I don't know, for some reason in the preview, it's a bit funky. But They can type different stuff in here, you know, square root of 5 for their answer. They can do all sorts of things. They can get different functions for some of their more advanced classes. They can get variables in here. They can get different operators and brackets and whatnot. So yeah, they really do have a lot of, they have a great wide variety, or they have a great ability to answer questions in a wide variety. There we go. The other thing I could do is instead of using a text input box, I could use multiple choice. So right here, I could type in Star Wars and then add another option. I could do Star Trek. And then here you'll see I've got checked the button that says ask students to explain their answer. So do you prefer Star Wars or Star Trek? Star Wars, and then it prompts them when they choose it to explain their thinking. Okay. Can they upload a picture from their own drive or search the image, search an image from the net? So it would be that they upload it from their own drive. Okay. But if they wanted to, they could Google search an image, save the image, and then upload it. But it would take that extra step. How did you get another icon to appear be an option? Teresa, do you mean the upload an image and the type math icons?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So if they're not showing up for you, then what you can do is you can go to accounts. Wait, no, it's not account settings. Oh, sorry, it's been a while. So Desmos
Erika, Lynn, sorry to interrupt you. So on my practice, it had 4 already: bold, italicized, link, and square roots, where your example only has 2 and media was there. And I was just wondering how you would add another one in that lower level.
So it's a bit different because I think these buttons right here that you're talking about, those are the notes. So we as teachers have the ability to use italics, bold, and to put a link in. Students don't have all that ability. So students only have the ability to upload a picture or to type in math. So they don't have the ability to bold. And I don't know why Desmos does that. I hope they change it because I would love for students to have the ability to use bold and italics and whatnot. But currently they do not. If you want to change that, what you're going to do is you're going to click here on this down arrow next to your account name. And then if you click on Desmos Labs, it'll show you, it has all these different features that they're still testing. So the student image upload, that's technically a beta feature. And it's actually relatively new. They only dropped it a couple months ago. So you have to go in and check mark it to confirm that you want students to have that option. So what you're going to do if you want to do that is click on the down arrow next to your name, click on Desmos Labs, and that will take you there. And you're just going to check mark next to student image upload. Okay. Do you use Desmos in class only? Ooh, that's a great question. I use it for class and for homework and for assessments. I use it for basically everything. And homework is really nice in particular because I can integrate a lot more in there for students. Yeah, it's pretty cool for homework. Yeah, of course. So we are running close to time for the team task. I think we'll spend a few more minutes here. I want to just show you that you have a ton of different options in terms of, oh, I should clarify, to delete, you click on these three bars, or these three dots, excuse me, and you click on delete component. And what I would encourage you to do is to click on these and play around. With the graph, you can click on it and edit a graph as if you were doing, you know, playing around with a real graphing calculator, and build stuff. So maybe you're doing a unit on linear equations. So for example, when I did my unit on linear equations, I would type a graph in there and I would say, what is the slope of this line? And then I would put a math input box. And maybe I didn't want it there. I do, but maybe for some reason I want it underneath the graph. You click on these three bars and you can move each of these components around to get it in the layout you want. So maybe I want the question on the left and the graph on the right. There we go. And so now this is what students would see. So any questions about how to actually get the different components onto a slide? Oh, awesome. Glad you're able to get that, Teresa. Any questions? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and, oh, thank you, Deidre, for using the dots. And while Deidre is typing, I'm going to go ahead and show you real quick. So here's the template activity that you're going to be working with your groups on. To share activities, once you've published them, you're going to click on these three dots here and on share activity. And that'll give you a link. And that's the link I'll give you in just a minute. So Deidre asks, is it better to start with a pre-made and edit or to start from scratch? That's a great question. Both are correct. both are better depending on what you want to do. Especially when you're just getting started with Desmos, I think that using a pre-made Desmos activity and editing as necessary is better. At the same time, I firmly believe that making your own activities is really awesome because not only do you have a better sense of how the activity flows, not only is it really the way you want it to be, but you can tailor it to your students. You can make references that your students are going to get. So it does take a bit more time to start from scratch, but what I would say is that if you do this enough, it'll become second nature. It takes me now about 30 to 40 minutes to make a lesson in Desmos usually because I've just gotten so quick at it. Usually what I'll do also, so let me go into my custom activities and I'll show you. This is a bad example. I might have to go back a little while. So we did the introduction to rotations, but we didn't get to these three slides. So what I did is I clicked here, I clicked copy and edit, and then I went and on using that edit, I made the 4/28 classwork that used some of those same slides. I deleted the ones we had gone over. I added new ones. So, you know, is that starting from scratch? No. It's still mine. It's still my own. But it made it a lot easier for me to actually make this lesson and a lot quicker. Does that help answer your question, Deidre? Awesome. Okay. So let's go here real quick. Oh, actually, I'll just do that. Here we go. So for this team task, you're going to have about 25 minutes to work in your group. Actually, I'll say 30 minutes. And instead of reconvening at 2:45, we can reconvene at 2:50 because I really want you to have time to work in your groups. There's a 3-slide Desmos template, and I want you to modify it and present a lesson. The goal of today is not to work on your lesson building skills in terms of, making a perfect lesson for students. The goal is to work on developing your Desmos abilities. So it doesn't really matter if it's a great lesson. It doesn't really matter if it flows. Each slide could be completely independent of the others. That's totally fine. What I'm really hoping is that each slide can be effective at what it's trying to do, interactive, so there's some way that students can engage with the slide, and engaging. So it makes it makes us as the students feel invested in that slide. So that's the main goal. Once you finish making that with your team, take turns practicing presenting because it's a little interesting at first when you're trying to present it. And then select one person who will present their screen. And I'm going to show you now. Here's the Desmos template. And I'll share the activity. What you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to copy and edit it. And when you copy and edit it, it'll take you to this right here. Let me zoom out so you can see the whole thing. And it'll say copy of. And so it'll have the same instructions I had before. It'll have a checklist in case you want to know specifically what to look for. It'll have an example that I made. And so right here for the warm-up, the body of the lesson, and the closure, work with your team to build a lesson. Once you've built it, what you're going to do is you're going to publish it. And then to present it, you're going to make a single session code. And you can make it just for 48 hours. And I can help review that once you finish. And then you can go into the dashboard and view the activity as the teacher, just as I showed you I'm doing right here with this activity. So I know that's a lot. I was trying to rush to get the last bits in at the end. Sorry that I didn't plan the time a bit better. Let me go back. Is everyone clear on what they're going to be doing once I put them into groups? So can everyone give me just a yes, no, plus, minus in the chat? Is everyone clear on what this activity is and what they're expected to do in their groups? Thank you, Lisa, Vanessa. If I've not made myself clear, please let me know because I don't want to just send you off if it's not clear. Thanks, Candace, Servando. Thank you, Adrian. Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Please feel free. So in your group, you can do it a few ways. You can either all build the same lesson or you can each build your own lesson. Only one of the lessons will be presented in each group, but that's something that each group will be able to decide on their own. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop presenting. And figure out, oh, this new Google layout. Okay. So there's going to be 4 breakout rooms, and it looks like there's going to be 4 people in each. Ooh, I got to fix that breakout room. that had too many people with too much prior experience to Desmos in it. Okay. I think that looks good. So please feel free to let me know if you need any support. Please ask questions. Please let me know what I can do to help you and your team be super successful. At 12:50, I will be closing the breakout rooms. Okay. So there we go. Okay. And Juan, Yvonne, let me know if you need any help getting into your group.
Hello. What do you guys have planned for these next what is it, 2 weeks now? God damn.
Yeah, well, my kids, went to their adopted grandparents, so I have I'm kid free for a few days.
Mhm.
Hello.
Hello.
Y'all ready? Y'all excited? Y'all know who's presenting?
We do.
Nice. Nice. How was it? Did it make sense how to make the activity?
Yeah, we kind of kept it a little bit like a beginning thing, like kind of a get to know you math
That's
type
perfect.
thing.
Yeah, that's
So
perfect. Yeah. No, that's awesome. It was very interesting. Actually, I hope this is okay, but group 1 was struggling on what to choose. And because they all teach different subjects. And I was like, well, this is what group 4 is doing. You might want to try it. So I think they're doing this. I think they're doing the same idea y'all are doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just talking in another group about stoichiometry. There's a chemistry teacher in there. So I was like, oh yeah, here's how you could do stoichiometry with Desmos. Really forced me to think back to college chem years ago.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyways, hello everyone. Okay. So let me check on group 1 real quick and I'll see how they're doing.
If you're talking to all of us, you're on mute.
Thank you. Isn't that always how it happens? Oh goodness. So that was group 3, I think. Deirdre, did you put the link in there?
That was yes, because I think Lisa very kindly volunteered to present for our group.
Gotcha. Okay, no worries. Okay, so I'm going to just present my screen real quick and just review how you can present or how you can actually set up a session for students. So normally what I would do is I would click on assign right here and you'll see I've got all my different classes. Although I don't know why it's showing math 1 and math 3 and not the other ones. Whatever. But it's showing my classes. And so this is really cool because then I could assign them, and I'll show you real quick. I should have had this open. But in the Google Classroom, for each of my classes, each week you can see the Desmos activity. So I would just upload, I would link it to the Google Classroom. You'll notice right here, it looks like 13 students haven't turned it in. Don't worry about this number because I told them they can ignore it, because it doesn't matter whether they actually turn it in Google Classroom or not. I still get to see what they did in Desmos. And it's really nice. It links it, makes it really easy for you so you don't have to post it in Google Classroom. It makes it really nice. Anyways, that's how I would normally do it for students, but we don't have a Google Classroom. So instead, I'm going to click on this down arrow and click on single session code. And you can just do it for 48 hours. And now I've got my session set up. You're going to see view dashboard. And this is the teacher view, and it automatically opens up with the link. So if I were to present this, I would copy the link, put it into the chat, and there we go. Everyone in the class now has access to it. And then I would see people join, and then, yeah, we would move on. So what I would recommend is if you kept slides 1 and 2 in here, we don't care about that. Use the pacing tool to restrict us to the warm-up at first. So those of you presenting, try getting some practice using the warm-up or using the pacing tool. You could also pause us if you want or anonymize if you want. But I would encourage you to try playing around with these tools because this is literally the opportunity to try and make mistakes before you're teaching a class. So just to recap, you go to the down arrow right here next to assign, single session code. Then you're going to go into view dashboard. And let's see, does any group volunteer to present first? Okay, thank you. Group 3, Lisa, go for it.
All right, let me go ahead and first just share the link for if you guys want to join and follow along with it, and then I'll present my screen. Okay, help me find where do you present the screen? You're right, they switched all these things around.
It's at the bottom and right next to the raise hand.
Oh, the arrow in the box.
Yep.
Thank you.
Of course. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Adrian.
Okay, so it looks like you guys can see my screen, and then do you want me to just show the type of question that we are doing?
So go ahead and present it as if you were teaching students. So what I would do is I would be in student mode for now.
Can you see mine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's in anonymous. I clicked the anonymize as well. And so this is just for me to see there's 6 of you guys that are on it, and you're all only on my slide because while I limited you, you can't go to any of the other slides right now.
And
But
if you want, you can click on the 4 arrows above warm up, and that way students only see the warm up.
yeah, that's true. To make it full screen. And then, yeah, so once they answer that one, it's a multiple choice that we gave them. And so we used the notes to do their top part and then a multiple choice. On the next one, we actually did a order list. And so this was because we had a science teacher. And so you would drag things around and basically put them in the order. And so you can just click on these and kind of drag them around however you want it to. And then for the last one, we had a math problem where they have a text box or they have a sketch pad, the sketch tool that they can use to show their work. And so this first one is just where if they want to try to handwrite it by the mouse pad, essentially, they could do that. But they do have access to this math one where you could type in parts of it. And so when they're solving it, they might need to show how they could like get a common denominator first. And so there's a math tool here that they could type that on there to show maybe that they're multiplying by a well, we call them giant ones for art in the 7th grade, but that they would use that to help get to the common denominator and stuff. And so they can type that in here. Or again, they could also handwrite things in. So if they don't know how to do that, or if you want them to do it with like different colors and stuff, you could have them like start off, it's messier this way, but some kids, it just kind of depends. And then they could show how they're multiplying by their giant ones to get the common denominators as well, like that, to show their work. And so there's different ways they could show their work on here, but this one's really useful, we have found, for when we want to see what they're thinking.
Nice. So that's awesome. Does anyone have any questions for Lisa or her group? Yeah, great job. And I'm looking at that ordered list. I did not use ordered list too much. So, but I like the idea of using it like biggest to smallest. And I'm going to go real quick to slide 5. I'm just going to draw a little line on the screen. But would you mind sharing your teacher view of slide 5, Lisa?
Okay.
And so you can see now, everyone, that, that shows up there. And if more people go to slide 5 and just, try to work on the problem, you'll get to see everyone's responses in real time, which is really cool. I don't know if I got a chance to share that. But yeah, you'll get to see the real-time responses.
And I don't know if you guys are aware, you can take a snapshot if you like somebody's answer. Like I might like this person's work. You can actually take snapshots of them, and then there's saved up here for you to share with the students. And you can actually put multiple snapshots to make a collection to then present for student work, just FYI.
Thank you for presenting that too. I wasn't sure if you were going to get to that, and I appreciate that you pointed that out, because that's a really nice feature to take the snapshots of the sketches. And actually, there was a few questions in some of the groups about whether to use a text box or a sketch pad. Generally speaking, I will give them a sketch pad, unless I only want them to write words, in which case I'll give them a text box. But the sketch pads now have such great capability, I think it's worth it to give them the sketch pad generally. Anything else you'd like to share, Lisa? Any other questions?
I'm good, unless there are questions. I can't see the meet right now, so if there's questions from the chat box.
No chat box questions.
Okay.
No, I've got stick around. I've got a funny joke for you, but it's an inside joke because I was your student teacher.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen then from now.
Good. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Wonderful. And that was really awesome. And I love the ordered list. That's a really great way to use it. Okay, so group 4 going next. Thank you, Adrian. So let's go ahead, go into group 4's.
For ours, we went kind of first day, wanting to get to know the students. So we had a quick warm up. So I took your advice, deleted the other slide that we did not need. So I do appreciate seeing the other way about pacing and pausing. But for us, we just took out the other slides that we weren't going to be using. Hopefully the link worked to let you guys get on. I'm under the student one, so yeah, I see people answering, which is which is great. So just what's your favorite sport? Just trying to get to know the students. We had 2 math teachers on our team. This lesson was actually put together by Candace. So love it. How they feel about math. I love it. We do it every day. I like it as long as I get help. It's okay. What is this class? What this class is about math? Do I have to be here? And maybe that was just more humorous for us in this training. Definitely wouldn't give the kids that option. Want to set positive tones, right? But and then a closure question as well. Just type questions. So we did a type in, multiple choice, and type in.
Awesome. Awesome. That sounds wonderful. And I love that middle question, especially the do I have to be here? I can think of several of my students from last year who would have definitely chosen that. Any questions? Does anyone have any questions for group 4? Okay. Yeah, I second what Servando is saying. Thank you, group 4. Well done. Okay, thank you so much, Catherine. Let's go ahead and get into group 2's presentation.
Okay. Let's see if I'm good. So can you guys see my screen? Okay. Teacher view. No, we want to go. This is where I'm lost at.
So
student view is what we want, right?
Student view when you're presenting to the whole class.
Okay.
Unless teacher view can be useful once everyone's answered and you've got anonymize on.
Okay. How did you get it to full screen?
You see the 4 arrows above warm up?
These dots?
Oh, sorry, wrong warm up. You see, no, look down towards basically in the middle of your screen. You're going to see the 4 arrows. There you go.
Oh, okay. I see it. Okay. So ours is very simple. We did additive inverse for the warm up. Made sure it was a fraction, so it's even more confusing for the kids. As far as our body, we gave them a problem, and we gave them a sketch pad. And then we asked them to explain their reasoning using math vocabulary. So that's the 2 steps, given and additive inverse. It was real basic. So we had them do that.
Nice.
And then our closure was a multiple choice. What does the additive inverse mean? So we try to use a little bit of different answer boxes. And that's it.
Nice. That's wonderful. And in it, not to put you on the spot, Catherine, Teresa, or Vanessa, but in group 2, we had a really good discussion about the math input boxes and when to use them. I don't know if you want to share anything about that. But why do you think you went with the math input box for this problem?
Well, I liked that it gave you a decimal and the regular fraction so that the kids could relate the decimal. And I also like that it was easier to do the fraction in that one.
Yeah, it just automatically has the math type in there. Yeah. Awesome. Any questions for group 4? Okay. Well, group 1, I think it is your turn. So would somebody from group 1 be able to put a student link in here? Let me know if you need any support getting that student link available.
All right, let me grab that for us.
Awesome, thank you. Does anyone have, in the meantime, does anyone have any questions about Desmos in general? While you were working on it, did you have any questions, or was there anything you're like, I want to do this, how do I do it?
I'd like to see a little bit of what the graphs do.
Absolutely. And I think we'll actually have a little bit of extra time. I planned more time for the presentations, but we're going through them quickly. So after group one's presentation, if you want, Yvonne, I can go through the graphs and how you can set those up. Because they're pretty self-explanatory once you know where everything is, but there's a few things that it's not clear where they are at first.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, so let's all click on Andrew's link. I love that GIF. I think it's a bear. I love that GIF of the bear eating ice cream.
So, our initial one was a warm up. So we wanted to start off the class with 2 warm ups. So the first question was, what is one thing you want to do this summer? What is one thing you did not get a chance to do this summer? So it was a chat box text, so that way we could share with the class and see everybody's responses. Of course, keep it anonymized. Follow it up with the second question. A bit of a joke. What do you think the person next? Do you think the person right next to you is smiling or frowning? Because of the mask, that we won't be able to tell. So hopefully look over and make eye contact and see what they're doing and get a little bit of a poll as far as what's going on. Followed up by our activity. We wanted them to draw their favorite memory from this summer, so that way they could use the interacting tools. No, I know somebody mentioned Disneyland, so if you want to draw my little Mickey Mouse there, right? Give you Mickey Mouse, but there you go. So, and then of course describe what was your favorite memory.
Nice.
Share with the class, see where they're going, see how their summer was, and of course, and with an exit ticket of what are 2 things that you learned about someone in your group that was different from what you did, right? So it's maybe something they did, maybe if they were frowning or not, something different than what you're feeling at the moment, just to get them to know each other a little bit better. It's because of after distance learning, of course, everything's going to be a little different. It's a little bit harder for them to make those interactions. So, and yeah,
that's awesome.
That would be our day.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And real quick, Andrew, if you don't, or did you know how to get into the teacher dashboard? I just want to make sure.
I do. Okay. I do. I didn't. I was trying to tell you that your preview, the center preview. But yeah, I know how to manage it. We're good.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because if not, then I wanted to help if you needed that help. But
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. How's everyone doing? We just went through all the presentations. We've got a few extra minutes. Do we want to take a 3-minute bathroom break? Reconvene at 3:15, and then I'll show off some graphing stuff real quick before we do the exit survey. Okay. Okay, so let's meet back here, 3:15, 3:16, whatever you get back. And I will answer some questions about the graphing, the graphing tool, and then we can move on to the exit survey. See you in a few. Okay. So I'll give us another minute. Until I get started. Anyone have any fun plans this evening? I'm laughing because I'm not sure what my partner's family is going to want to do. And I'm sure it will have deviated from the plan several times. I'm very jealous because I don't have a dog here. I wish I could. Oh, buddy. Hi, buddy. How's Buddy been doing this summer?
He's been doing really good. He loves it. He loves being home.
Yeah. I wish my apartment complex allowed dogs, Candace. If it did, then I would definitely take you up on that.
Well, if you ever want to walk a dog, you can always come to my house.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, it was actually kind of fun over the summer because my parents were out of town for a while, so I got to watch their dogs. I had to stay at their place. That was nice to get to be around doggies again. Anyways, Yvonne, are you here right now? I just want to make sure because before I get started on the graphs you'd asked about, I want to make sure you're here. If not, that's okay. We can wait another minute or so.
I'm here.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So, did you have any questions in particular, Yvonne, or did you just want to learn generally a bit more?
I just learned that Desmos existed last night. So I kind of like to see what it does.
Absolutely. Okay. So let me present my screen. Sorry, I was decluttering. Okay. So I'll create a new slide. By the way, I don't think I ever said anything, why didn't I? But this big plus right here, that's where you can add a slide. And also one other thing that's really cool. Let's say that you really like this is an old Desmos activity I did. Let's say I really like this slide, okay? Right here, you're gonna see these two rectangles, one under the other. That's the copy button. And so you can click the copy button and then you can go here and left click on the screen icon and then Control V and you will copy that screen from one Desmos activity to another Desmos activity. So I don't know if anyone knew that. But that is a really awesome way to make an activity where you draw from a few different, I know, right? I can absolutely re-show it. So I'm at the preview right here. So this is an old lesson that we did together, Teresa, way a long time ago, back in January, 10 years ago. And you click on the slide that you want to copy. And then right here where it says student screen preview, you're going to see an icon for a rectangle with a rectangle underneath it. Click on that and you can see it says copy now, paste into activity builder. So I'm going to go here and you don't even actually have to have a blank slide open. I'm just going to click here and then do Control V and it'll paste right in there. And so that way, if you want to do the warm up from this lesson, but you want to have a slide from this lesson, you can copy from both of those and put them into your own new Desmos activity. So that's a really high leverage tool that you can use to make your Desmos activities cooler. Oh yeah, go for it, Teresa. But
just very quickly, do you find your colleagues are comfortable with you doing that with their materials? That because you're not necessarily, you're not giving them credit for it on your work, but you're finding that this is normal, right? To share?
It's something, well, Adrian, Jen, and I, so my colleagues, yes, but we talk about it. So I would just ask if it, but also if it's like a Desmos activity, Desmos is okay with you taking their work. It's not like copyright infringement. You're not going to get in trouble. Like they literally put this in there because they wanted people to be able to take really good slides and use them again. So if by doing that, you are literally doing what Desmos intended. So yeah. So graphs are really cool. Desmos got started, by the way. Why is this not working? Can everyone hear me? Oh,
yes.
there. For some reason, this is being weird. Okay. So if you just Google search graphing calculator, Desmos comes up as the top hit because they've got a really good graphing calculator. So this right here, the graph, that's just their graphing calculator fit for a Desmos activity. So right here, it says edit the graph. You can click on that. In here, you can type different equations. So y equals 3x plus 1. And you could even do in brackets x greater than 2. And why is it? Am I doing? Huh. I don't know why it's not doing that. Weird. I'm going to have to play around with that because I don't know why it's not doing that. But anyways, you can type different equations in here. You can put variables in here. Generally, you're going to be typing equations in here. Key thing, if you want to expand or if you want to play around with the formatting, you're going to click on this wrench. I think that's a wrench icon, but the tool icon, and you can change it from, Cartesian into polar. If you want to, you can put arrows at the end. You could have it on all 4 or just on all 2. You can make the x-axis bigger. The second lesson I ever made, I was so proud of myself. I put this question in there where, I mean, it was a problem. We had just done multiple representations, and the equation was essentially like y equals 20x plus 50. And I forgot to change the scale. So important to change the scale. And you do that by clicking this tool icon, and you can put in there, maybe you want 20, maybe for the y, you want 40, okay? And so you can really manipulate it that way. However, the sketch tool is something, has all the same capabilities, except it allows students to then draw on the map or draw on the graph or interact with it. If you click right here where it says background and then go to editable graph, it now has the exact same capabilities as a graphing calculator, except, if I tell students, find the slope, now they can actually go in here and use the line tool and draw a slope triangle, Yeah. And thank you, Teresa. And draw on it. So I want to be mindful of our time. I can definitely stick around for a few minutes longer, but I'm going to move us all on to slide 12. I'm going to stop the pacing in a few minutes. But if everyone could please go to slide 12 and appreciate the Bill Murray meme or GIF, and then take the exit survey. I'm gonna stop pacing this in a few minutes. But oh yes, I absolutely can. There you go. And so please feel free to email me about any Desmos questions. I also put on here a link to a compilation of my transformations lessons. And this right here is a link of Desmos made lessons that are really, really awesome. And so if you're looking to just copy and edit or copy and use some activities for now, this would be a good place to start. If you have any questions, like I said, please feel free to email me. Thank you so much for coming, because it's been really wonderful getting to work with each and every one of you. Sorry I wasn't a bit more with it. Like I said, in-laws, but it's been really nice getting to spend time with y'all, not least of which because I have a valid excuse to get some alone time. But seriously, thank you, each and every one of you, for coming. And I can absolutely stick around for a few minutes if you have any questions. And have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. So Lisa, do you want to hear the inside joke? When you were presenting your screen, I saw that you had one unread email. And my first thought was, oh goodness, you must be stressed about that.
I left that one unread. It's all the Google forms they keep sending me for when I keep filling out all the sign-ins and stuff. So rather than having them keep emailing me multiple ones, I just left it unread so they all clump together.
Does it make you, do you look at that and just sometimes instinctively like, oh, I got to read it? Or do you remember at this point?
At this point, I remember it.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Anyways, you'd be a little offended by my inbox. Anyways, Vanessa, yes. Do you have a question, Vanessa?
Yes. What are we supposed to do to the slide number 12? You said appreciate it.
Oh, right here. If you click right here on the word here, there's an exit survey.
Oh,
and
okay.
Yeah. And then the other thing is I've got a link to some collections of lessons. And I also put my email right here. So if you have any Desmos questions, please feel free to email me.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course. How's Andrew doing, Lisa?
He is loving summer. He's seeing lots of his family and friends, and his birthday's this Saturday, or Sunday, so he's really excited right now.
Oh, nice. Wait, sorry, did you say it's his birthday coming up?
Yep, on Sunday.
Oh my gosh. Oh, if I had known earlier, I would have sent him another present.
He's good. Trust me. He does not need anything.
Goodness. Well, tell him that I say hi. And
I will.
I wish him a happy birthday.
All right, I'll let him know.
Yeah. Have a good one. I'll see it. I see you're signed up for tomorrow as well.
Yes. Hey, quick question.
Yeah.
Do you have your equations ones made public?
Yes, and I can send them to you if you'd like. The transformations ones, those are like stellar quality, if I say so myself. The equations ones, some of them were like, I'm not getting enough sleep. This is acceptable. So I'd like to spiff them up a little before I send them out, but I can get those to you soon if you'd like.
That's no problem. They can come to me however they are. I can change and edit them too. I like having a basis of somewhere to start from.
It does make it a lot easier. Yeah. No, I'll make a collection of those and I'll send that your way.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. Good to see you. Bye. And Yvonne, did you want to go over graphing a bit more?
Yeah, I have a couple of things that I'm interested in. So I can see that you put in here straight lines. What other kinds of things can you do? Can you put like parabolas or triangles, or I mean,
let me show you. Actually, let me do it the smart way.
And does this platform put all the information in for you, or is there freehand drawing required?
Wait, all the information. Can you
clarify? For example, if you were going to make some kind of cube or something, do you make the cube yourself or does it make it?
A little of both. You have to feed in some basic information, but then it'll make it for you. And so I just want to show you, this is an example of my rotations lesson. And so you can see there's all sorts of things graphically that you can do. Just to give you an idea. So for example, let's say you want to build a cube. There's a few ways you could do that. So one way is you could type in polygon and then in parentheses, put the ordered pairs. Okay, so 0, 0, 2, 0, 2, 2, and 0, 2. And there you go. You got a cube. That's one way you could do that. You could do polygon and then in parentheses put all the ordered pairs. That's the easier way, but I don't recommend it. And I'll show you why in just a second. Because the other way is you can actually create a variable. And when I say variable, I'm not talking so much in the mathematical sense, but more in the computer science sense. So I'm going to create a variable here, a equals, and I'll do, let's say this time I'm going to do -6, 0. And so you can see this point shows up here at -6. And I can then click on this label and label it point A. And then I could do B equals -4, 0. And don't worry about the color. I'll show you how you can mess around with that later, but you do B equals, or label that B. C equals -4, 2. You could label that C. And then D equals -6, 2. And then what you would do is you would use that same polygon command, but you would just type in there A, B, C, D. And now the cool thing is you've got this labeled, but let's say that you want to move it a little. Let's say you want to change the coordinates. You can more easily tell which coordinates correspond to which vertex. And to make it all the same color, what you can do is you can click here on the cog. And then if you just left click on each of these colors, you can change the color around. You could change the position of the label. You could make it bigger or smaller. The other thing is you can turn the drag off, which I would recommend doing. So yeah. Let me ask you this. Does that give you more questions than answers?
No, that helps a little bit. And then could you do graphs like pie charts and things like that, or?
When you say a pie chart, do you mean like like how you would in Excel or spreadsheets. We've got
Something like that.
so,
Or is this just more like coordinate plane work?
you could, it would be a bit more difficult. So what I would recommend doing, like, let's say, so like, can you give me an example? Like what kind of situation or problem are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of things like trying to just first being able to read a pie chart so that, you know, maybe there are some percentages on it and there's some piece that doesn't have a percent on it, same size maybe as some other one, and you know what are the percents that are missing or something like that. Or
Okay.
being able to, you know, this is whatever it is, you know, which ones of the, like I see what you have there, so which one of these would be, you know, equivalent to, I don't know, certain degrees on the pie chart, or also a certain percent on the pie chart.
Okay. So, and do you have like images of the pie charts already that you're thinking of? Or are you?
No, that's why I was trying to find something to make it really easy. And if it's
Okay.
easier just to look in somewhere and copy and paste, if that works. I don't know if that works or not, but
It does. And so here, I'll show you. I just downloaded that one. There's a few ways you could do it. So what you could do is you could use a sketch. And what I would do is I would use the sketch and then go to custom image. And then I just downloaded the pie chart, so I would put that in there. And now students could, I mean, let's say, for example, this is, you know, blocked out. Okay. Then students could maybe do on the side 0.3 plus 8.9. So, you know, they've got
so they can calculate it.
Exactly. And they could show their work. And I'm doing this real quick. You could mess around with it really easily and make it look exactly as what you're looking for. The other thing is that what I will do is I will go into my Google Drive and I will go open a Google Drawings. The Desmos sketchpad is 5 inches by 5 inches, roughly. Or not roughly, exactly. Roughly in the sense that, you know, it changes depending on the size of your computer, but it's a square, and geared towards 5 by 5 images. And so you could insert this in here and you could maybe do some modifications. So you want it to be this big, that way it leaves them some room at the bottom to do their work. Maybe you want to block out, you know, that percentage. So you could put a white bar over it, block it out. And then what you can do is you can download that as a PNG or JPEG. And then you'd go back here and upload that. And you can see now they still have the image, but now they have a lot more room to work, and this is whited out.
Nice.
Yeah. So does that make sense what I was showing? Awesome. Is there, yeah. So that's what I would recommend doing. As of yet, they don't really have any tools for charts. You could do a bar graph, and actually, what can I ask? What classes would this be for?
I teach math, but I teach math from basically multiplication of integers through like pre-algebra.
Oh, that's a pretty big scope.
Yes.
Okay. do you do bar graphs?
Yes.
So what you
And
can
that's
do,
important in social studies that we do as well.
Oh, are you teaching a self-contained class?
Yes.
Okay. Is it like a functional academic, something like that?
If you want to call it that, that would be okay of a title.
Oh, okay. Okay. I teach at the at the middle schools, and at the middle schools we've got it like an FA class. So I was just wondering if, yeah. But yeah, so if you were to go to the graph, you could move this, you could amend this. So maybe you want to do -1, -1, and then you can make this 10 right here. There's a nice feature you could do zoom square, and that way it makes it, a bit more square. Or you don't have to if you don't want to. Sometimes I don't want it to. And so what you could do, sorry, my brain's going wild because I'm thinking of all these cool coding things you could do. I won't get into the more advanced coding, but if you ever do want to get into some of the advanced coding, please let me know because I can show you. But what you could do is you could just use Polygon, and you could say, you do 2, 0, 4, 0, 4, 4, and 2, 4. And so you could have that bar graph, and maybe you want to put a little title, or a little descriptor. So what you could do is you could put a point at 3, 4 right here. And if you click here, you actually make the point invisible, but then you could label it and say basketball. And then if you click on that cog, you could click here, put the label above, and make it red. And so you could make bar graphs pretty easily that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any questions about that?
When I first saw you do the rectangles, I thought of that. I thought, oh, I could do this, but then what about labeling? And there it is. So
yeah. And so, yeah, you could play around with the labeling and whatnot. The key thing I would say is you make the point invisible. It is, well, so Teresa, to answer your question, there's 2 different kinds of coding. There's computational layer coding, and that's like hardcore computer science. Then there's graphical layer coding, and that's what we're doing right now. Graphical layer coding, as we're doing it, I wouldn't call this coding, but you can do some coding in the graphical layer. So actually, I'll show you real quick. This is how I would do it. Do you have like 5-10 minutes maybe to watch me nerd out and show you the possibilities with a bar graph? If you don't, that's totally okay.
You're asking Miss Pedersen, is that correct?
Well, both of you. Oh, okay.
I'm not going anywhere because I needed to check with you about something afterwards. Oh. So no, you're good. I'm multitasking.
Okay.
So in my mind, I'm going, well, it's 3:30, and normally that's your cutoff time, not for this, but just on a regular daily basis. So yeah. I'm really glad that you're giving Yvonne Pedersen that time, and I'm listening. But is this what you're talking about? What you're showing right now, are you also doing this tomorrow if Miss Pedersen wanted to go to that class tomorrow? So tomorrow's class is that heavy duty coding that you do with your colleagues from Hardin that you guys got into last year?
Well, tomorrow is going to be computational layer coding, but it's going to be like putting your toe in the water.
Okay.
It's going to be, we're going to do 3 things. We're going to learn how to add new colors on a sketch pad. We're going to learn how to modify a follow-up question to make it more relevant. And we're going to learn how to make sentence frames. And for the last two, we're going to do a bit of conditional formatting. So those are the easiest high leverage strategies for coding that there are, basically.
So then for myself, who really needs multiple repetitions, would I just be able to get your video then? Because I don't know if I'll be able to attend your class, but if nothing else, I could see the video, right? And then walk myself through that multiple times.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is I'll be at Hardin with you and we're teaching together, right?
Yes, we are, but I'll need that practice. So that's good because I'm interested in the sentence framing part. But what you're doing for Yvonne Pedersen right now, that's good background information for me. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Listen.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, and you'll actually get to see some computational layer coding. So Yvonne, please interrupt me at any point because this is going to be a bit more complicated and require some computer science coding. So do you ever have students create bar graphs?
In the classroom, on the board, in small groups, stuff like that. In electronic media, no, I haven't done it.
Okay. Is that something you'd be interested? Not as so I'll show you. Right here, this was a really good way for students to see what a rotation is. Because that was something that I was teaching. And then now they actually had to draw their rotations, but that was a great way for them to get to explore it. I'm thinking right now of a fun way that you could get them to explore building bar graphs using some coding. So for example, sport and, didn't mean to do that. Number of fans. Okay. And so you could have basketball, baseball, tennis, soccer, hockey. Okay. And I'm going to leave this blank for now, and I'll show you why in just a second. But for now, what I'm going to do is
Let me ask you a really simple question.
Yeah,
how did you get that so that you were able to make the table?
Right here, it says table. And so if you click on that.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And please feel free to ask all the questions because I want this to actually be useful. And yeah, so you can see right here, this is how it looks so far. Okay. I haven't put a title in there. I'll put bar graphs. But yeah, that's how it looks so far. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to mess with the domain and range. And let's see. I go to 15 and I'll make this go to 50. And I'll make that. There we go. So we can actually label this. Although actually, if the label's on top, I talk to myself when I'm thinking, by the way. So I'm going to create my polygons and I'm going to do it the way I was showing you, the way that I like. Well, actually, neutral. No, I really don't. But I will. I will because that'll be easier to show it and it's better practice. Okay. So for the first one, 20 40 and here I'm going to put a variable in called A. And you'll notice a slider came up. So this green point is C. So I'm going to label it C. Watch what happens as I increase C. See how it moves around like that? It goes up and down. So what we're going to do is we are going to essentially allow students to put the number of fans in here, and we're going to put some coding in place such that the number they put in here becomes this number A. So does that make sense conceptually, what we're going to be doing, like what the goal is?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to say C is 4, A, and D is 2, A. And I'm going to put a label in there. E equals, and I'll do 3, A. And I'm going to go in here. I'm going to make this all red. I'm not going to make the points draggable because I don't want them to drag the points. And this one right here, I'm actually going to turn the point off so you don't see the point, but I'm going to turn the label on, and I'm going to put the label above it, and the label will be basketball. I should probably make it red so it matches. And now to make the polygon, or the, the bar graph part, I just got to do A, B, C, D. And I'll go in, press the cog. The other way is you can just click and hold. And there we go. So I've got that part done. But now what I have to do is I need to actually code in here this A. Okay, what is A going to equal? So in computer science, you have objects and you need to name them. So this table needs to have a name if I'm going to reference it. Because what I'm trying to do is I want this cell, that cell value, to be the value of A. So I'm going to name this sports fans. And the syntax I use, first of all, it has to be one word. But in computer science, or in computer coding, you do a lowercase for the first word, and then each subsequent word, instead of a space, you use a capital letter to denote that it's a new word. But that's the name of this object, sports fans. And so what I'm going to do is right here in the computational script, or the computational layer, I'm going to click where you've got the alligator mouths, as I like to call them, split by the bar. I'm going to click there. And the code we're going to be using is called number. And I'm going to be putting in there, in parentheses, A. And I'm doing A because A is the number that I want whose value I want to be set. So I'm going to go in here and say that A equals, and I'm actually going to do some conditional formatting. When sports fan dot cell content, although actually it looks like they cell numeric value, nice. They're constantly updating their code. It's nice to see that they're updating this code. That was always a bit annoying. And oh gosh, I can't remember. I think it's column and row. It could be row then column, but we'll see. Equals 0. Or actually, nope, I'm not going to do any conditional formatting because if they're creating it, they don't need to. So instead, I'm sorry, I'm just going to do sportsfan.sell sell numeric value. So that's the value of the number itself, and encoding, you can think of a number either as a word, like the word 9, or you can think of it as a number, and computers treat them differently. So you can't run a word, even if that word is a number. It has to be converted into a numeric value before this code will understand that it's not actually a word, it's a number. I don't know if that makes sense.
That's fine.
But yeah, it's a little hard to explain. But I'm going to tell it to 1, and it should be second column, first row, but we'll see. And it should, if I input this in here, nope, I switched it up. I always do that. Row 1, column. Let's do it now. Yep, there we go. So what you can see is I can move this around. I could make it 40. Make it 45. I could make it 3 or 35. And so you could do that for each of these and give your students the ability to actually, make their own bar graph, but they're not focusing on the mechanics. They're not focusing on, the stuff that might be a little harder for them at first. They're focusing just on the concept. And so that can be a really nice introductory tool to get them thinking about the concept before they actually try and replicate it themselves by hand. But yeah, I don't know. Does this seem like something that would be useful?
I think it would be useful to me to make the bar graphs. I'm not sure that they would be able to handle trying to get through whatever needs to be done to make one bar, let alone the whole graph.
Cool. Sorry, to clarify, they wouldn't be doing what I just did.
Oh, that would be me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'd be making it. And then what they would do is all they would be doing is inputting these numbers in here. Does that make sense?
So they would see the graph as it's sitting there right now, like that basketball one, and they would say, how many units is that? I think that's 35. I'm going to type 35.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. They could handle that.
Yeah. And so what you could do, and if you want, you could take the coding out of it and just give them a static image. So you could make this here, 32, for example. And they would then be able to type in here 32. Oh, I didn't mean to take that preview away, but they would type 32. And so then you could put 1 in for baseball. And you could I'll do it the quick way this time, but polygon 6, 0, 8, 0, 8, 7, and 6, 7. And then I'll have, let's do it this way, 7, 7, make that label baseball, change the color to black to match it, put it above, take the point away. And so you could do that for all of these. And so then they could just, their task would be, how many units? The other thing is, if you want, you could convert this. If you click on these three dots, you could convert it into a sketch. And then they would actually be able to count and show their counting. So they could go 10, 20, 30, 2, or whatever method it is that you want them to use to show their work. And so then they could type in here 32 and their work would be shown. And like here, for example, this 7, I don't know if you get into extrapolating at all, but they could maybe show, for example, it's a half step. What's half of 2? 1. So that's 6 plus 1, 7, or whatever would be most appropriate. And yeah, so you could build a table like this, and they could practice analyzing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my hardest things this last year was trying to do math. And it's not that doing math is difficult. It comes very naturally to me, but trying to find a way to get math to be translatable on something, because my students have various types of devices, and they had various amounts of knowledge of how to use those devices, which most of the time was very, very limited. And so I tried to get things as easy as possible. And then I was using Jamboard, and Jamboard's okay, but it's not, like, the lines aren't straight, and you know, all that. And so it makes it a little bit more challenging for me to do anything where it has to be measured, because, you know, is that an arc or is that a straight line? Okay, the one I drew on the left is straight, but the other one is actually an arc. You know, it's like you have to tell them, because you can't really draw it in such a way that, you know, or you put in shapes and you get a certain amount, like, of curvature to it. So you could do like a free throw area of a basketball court, you know, and you could get that sort of shape, but then and how do you measure it now? Like, there's no way to, you know. So you have to tell them, you know, okay, this side is 7, this side is 3, you know, the radius is whatever, and okay, now what is it? You know, it's like, instead of them being able to figure it out themselves. So that was the more challenging part, is just trying to put something out there that they could get. And I see with this graph that those kind of things could be possible.
Yeah. And not just that, but I'm showing you this right here. This is a lesson that I did on May 12th of this year. And you can see all of their responses here. This was a practice problem, so they don't have the best responses. Also, it was the end of the year, so I didn't have the best responses. Oh, yes, I absolutely can. Oh, I should probably turn the recording off. Huh. Teresa, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry about that. I think it's helpful information